Call your friends, call your colleagues, share the invite with them, and let's get the ball rolling. So we'll be starting in a minute. Let's get more people in. Okay, so while we wait for others to join in, we start saying you are welcome to the final session of our MSME series, Ask the Experts. And today I'm sure you're already excited, waiting to ask your questions. So if you have questions, please have them penned down. This session is just to take your questions and to answer them. So we are really excited. We are pumped for this. And we have our very lovely, beautiful speaker, which I'll be introducing in a few minutes. So please tighten your seatbelt. My name is Chinwe Aaron Ogunfile, and I work with the brand and communications team here at MTN. I also have my colleague here with us, Aderisola Arino, which I'm very much sure you all know because you're always waiting for the goodies and he's always ready and available to share that with you. Deering is also here with us. And of course, we have also our special guest I'll be introducing shortly, and also our team from Cloud Dinley. I'll be introducing as we go on. So a few ground rules. As you may have noticed, your mics have been automatically disabled as well as your videos. This is just so that we can maintain decorum all through the session. If you have questions while the session is going on, please feel free to make use of the chat and you could write your questions down there. So that's how we're going to take it and so here we go. I'll be introducing our guest speaker today. Please join me in welcoming Madam Adora Ikwemesi. She's a prolific speaker, writer, and influencer in the field of human resource management. So you should actually know we went all out to get the very best for you within the human resource sphere. Adora is the founder of Kendall Consulting Limited, a human resources management consulting firm specializing in learning and development solutions. She is the author of the self-help book, Change Your Career. Adora has a master's degree in information technology from Cranfield University, the UK, and a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Reading, UK, and a diploma in psychology from the Middlesex University, also in the UK. She is an accredited global professional in human resources and a board trustee for the Society of Human Resources Management in Nigeria. Adora is a trained coach, experienced facilitator, and providing coaching services to individuals and organizations. She's a talented and multi-skilled professional. Her experience spans the IT, telecoms, and consulting industries. With current focus on transforming human resource management practices in Nigeria, she has led several innovative initiatives that demonstrate her dedication to developing the next generation of HR professionals and people managers. So join me in welcoming the renowned, the beautiful, the well-versed Adora Ikwemesi. Please let's give a virtual round of applause to welcome
Thank
our
you.
special guest here today. Adora, we are happy to have you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Always a
All
pleasure.
right.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much. It's a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We're happy to have you. So
Good,
we'll
good,
get
good.
right into it. So today we're discussing hiring the right talent. Because you should know this week is World MSME Week. Yesterday was
Yes.
World MSME Day. So we get to spotlight MSMEs, the different innovative products and services that they bring to us as a company and also to us as an economy. So it's a great privilege to always have the opportunity to herald the good things that MSMEs are doing, though not grandeur, but they are very much mighty within our economy, and we appreciate every single one of you. So today we'll be talking about hiring the right talent, because making a dream team is the very first process in getting to your destination as a successful business owner. So we have some questions for Adora. I'll be starting out because I've been thinking in my head, how am I able as a business owner to recruit the right talent? How do I know I'm getting the right person that aligns with my vision, that aligns with my purpose as a business owner? Am I sure I'm making the right decision? So I'll leave the floor open now for Madam Adora to kind of give us an overview of how we
Wow.
can source out the right talent for our businesses.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chinwe, for that question. I think I'll begin by, first of all, recognizing the work that MTN has been doing quite recently with regards to the MSME space. It's very commendable, and we definitely need more of that. I'm happy that you also mentioned the work, the tremendous effort and value that MSMEs add to the GDP of the country and, to the economy. I just want to point out, some facts that I'm sure a lot of us know, that MSMEs employ 84% of the market. So it's interesting that, a lot of times you see people want to work for the big companies, the MTNs of this world. However, the bulk of people, whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter what your desire, you're going to end up working for an MSME, because that's just the way things are. They are the largest in number. The big firms, you can literally count them. But when it comes to small businesses, there are lots of them, and they are really the lifeblood. So just to give kudos to anyone, and it's not just when we talk about hiring, it's definitely not restricted to businesses, but obviously we're talking business. However, employment recruitment is something that every employer has to do, or every HR person has to do, or every manager has to do. As long as you're in a team, you can even be a team member and be called in to join the hiring process. So I just wanted to start with that introduction. Uh, Chinwe, but I would love to add, I love the way you did the introduction about staging yourself as a business owner, and you already started saying some of the answers, how do I get someone who's aligned with my values? And I'm thinking, Chinwe, you definitely you have some expo, let me put it as we call it. You definitely done your homework around this area. So yes, the thing about it, obviously me coming from, I've been an HR consultant for about 20 years now. There is a science to it, and I believe that a big part of this discussion would be to discuss both ways. There's a science to hiring. There's also an art to hiring. I will not, but let's address both sides. In terms of the science, there is a process of doing something that makes the outcome more likely to be successful. And one of the things about hiring is being very clear about the type of person that you want in the first place. And sometimes when I say the type of person that you want, we need to liken it to the context in which the person will be hired. Now, what role is the person hired to fulfill? Every vacancy in an organization is to fulfill a purpose for that organization. The reason why you have vacancies there, and I don't know who invented the word vacancy, but there is meaning in that word. Vacant means there is a vacant, and it's vacant, meaning that what should have been whole, right, to fulfill the purpose or the mission of an organization, there is a vacancy. Every role should have a purpose in that organization, right? So jobs are not jobs in themselves. Jobs are provided because they fulfill a role or a purpose within an organization. So if we have a small manufacturing business, or a small logistics business, a small service, the reason why you have vacancies is when it has become clear that you need a resource, a human, an extra resource to fulfill a particular objective in the organization. So every role should be significant in contributing value to the organization's mission. Okay, that's the first thing. You don't hire for the sake of hiring. And why am I saying this? Some SMEs, they fall into that trap. They measure their value by the number of people they're employing, whether they need them or not. Some people just like seeing bodies in their office. They like the hue. They just like it to be like, how many staff you have? I have 20. I'm telling you, there are people that they're happy that they have more staff, regardless of the quality, regardless of whether they're all contributing. And then you see the same people complaining that they're not getting value. So the first thing is that every role within an organization, whether it's 500 people in the organization or 5 people or 3 people, they should be fulfilling a unique contribution that is required within that firm. So I would say first things first is this is the organization and this is what the organization does. What kind of resources do you need for the organization to meet its objective? Right? So we're starting a small business. We make plantain chips, right? And I start this business in my kitchen and, people love my plantain chips. And then as a business, I start to vision and, think about my future. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of demand. My plantain chips is good. I set a vision. I decide, what I'm going to I want to be the best plantain chips, the maker in this part of the world. And I start thinking, okay, so business is a team sport. How am I going to get there? Fine, if I'm making plantain chips for my estate, I can manage on my own. But the minute I say, you know what, I want to be the best provider in this part of town or in a particular state or in a country, then I now start thinking of a structure of people that would deliver that service. Because to deliver to your estates of 30 houses is very different to supply, 30 supermarkets, right? So the first thing about recruitment is that it's very aligned with the organization and the organization's mission. So first of all, you have a clear objective of what the firm wants to deliver. Then you're thinking, who needs to come along? What resources do I need to deliver on this mandate? That's where hiring starts, because when you start envisioning that you have something to deliver as an organization, then you need to start thinking of who's coming along this journey with you. And when you go embark on a journey and you consider it as an expedition of sorts, you will not go with the same type of people because everybody will have a role. So that's typically how it's just like in a family. I'm just using the family instance. People do have roles in families, in societies, in associations, in clubs. You have roles. So it's the same thing. Whether it's a small organization, as you expand your plantain chips business or you expand your consultancy, you are going to need help. And you need to be very clear what type of resources. And in the recruitment, in our own language, in HR, we call that whole process of putting the profile. We talk about profiling a job. So we first of all identify the jobs that need to deliver for the organization. Then we profile the jobs. So when we are profiling, what are we doing in essence? We're saying to do this job well, and the job means we've identified a set of skills or activities that will deliver a part of the business's goals. But to do the job, what kind of person do I need? That's the question that one is answering. What type of person do you need? And when you say what type of person, it's not a tall person, a short person. It's a mixture of competencies. It's technical and behavioral. Okay, so that's the science part that I was talking about. So the technical side is, okay, let's talk about the plantain chips business. Maybe it's getting difficult for me to continue managing on myself. I say, you know what? I'm going to focus on the distribution of the plantain chips and focusing on relationships with supermarkets. I need someone who will now start frying, going to the market, buying the plantain chips and frying it. So I need to come up with a job description for that person because my job now is going to focus on strategy and partnerships. So business development, right? And as the business expands, I might say I even need a business development officer to go and scout around the area. I would need to develop a job profile. It's a mixture of a job description. However, you go further by determining not just the job, describing the job, you go into describing the competencies, both technical and behavioral. So technical for a business development could be like maybe some market research, some relationship management, because you need someone who has knowledge of building relationships and maybe developing marketing material of sorts. However, there's a behavioral side. You need somebody who is comfortable with obviously following through, like a certain level of, an attitude where they follow through to the end. Because if you're someone who gives up or gets easily discouraged by rejection, you can't do sales or your marketing because you're going to be discouraged. You need somebody who can relate with people, because if the worst thing someone wants to do is relate, and there are people like that because of their personality, they don't really want to relate, or somebody who doesn't like to have be put under pressure for targets. So you have to decide the job description, the behavior, technical competencies, the behavioral competencies. Then you have a profile, and then you now have a baseline of going to look for the kind of person that suits the profile. So that's the simple version. And I think as we go along, I'll talk more, because that's like, okay, 101, have a profile. But one thing I always tell people is that recruitment is like marriage. As you are designing your spec, because that's what we've just done. We're saying, this is the kind of person I want. But hey, the kind of person you want, do they want you? That's part two. I just leave. Because I think that's where it gets a bit tricky. We can say, okay, this is the profile of person I want, but a lot of the problems that MSc have is actually attracting. So that's another part of hiring, because it's one thing to say, I need someone like this, and then this is what I will pay. But it's another thing is like the person that you want, do they want to work with a firm like yours? So that's the other angle. And I think, that's hiring needs to pay attention. Some brands are able to, recruitment is really not even about, it's about attracting. The word recruit is actually to attract. So it's not really the proactiveness of you going to look. That could be a strategy to find. But the truth is that real hiring is obviously going to consciously look. But recruitment, the term recruitment, is actually about being attractive enough for people to want to come. So that's why you do advertise. You're advertising your company and the role to attract candidates, right? But you must have a profile. And that profile is what you advertise if you're advertising. And then, of course, if you're using other methods like maybe asking for referrals, at least you have a profile. Because even no matter who you ask, maybe you ask personal people you know personally, or you ask a recruiter or a consultant, they're going to ask you, what kind of person do you want? So you must have a profile. And maybe this is where sometimes businesses generally don't get it right, because they don't do their homework. Sometimes I laugh because we just say, you hear business owners say, anybody can do this. And then you're like, no, everybody can't do this. Or you ask them, what kind of person are you looking for? They say, any fresh graduates. I'm like, but look at the profile. A fresh graduate cannot do this. So the profiling helps you, because it helps you be clear on the kind of person, not the kind of person you want, the kind of person who can deliver on that role. So there has to be some mindset shift. It's not, MSCs are fond of is who I can, of course, affordability is a big issue, but always think, what's the profile that can deliver on this job? That's a good place to start, because it helps you determine the level of experience the person should, because once you're done with the job description, you can determine what we call the job specification, which is the actual profile, the experience level, the educational level, that the person requires. And that will give you more insight into maybe how much they should be compensated. But if you don't do this back work first, and you're just looking for someone, then you're not very clear on what you want. And I go back to, like I always say, recruitment is like marriage, and not just marriage, partnership. You're looking for someone. Yeah, you need to be clear on the kind of person you want. Well, you want to do life with, or you want to do this. And business, like I said, is a team sport. So for you to succeed in this business, you need to be clear on the kind of person that will help you. So think about hiring as maybe looking for partners. That's how I see it. You're looking for partners. That's it. You're people to go on the same mission with you. And then on the behavioral side, you're thinking about people who have shared the same values. Why are values key? Because can two work together unless they agree? Values are deeper levels of connection. If you don't share the same values, then there's likely to be friction. And in a partnership, if it's a marriage, it will be divorce. If it's a partnership of friends, it could be severing the friendship, right? People move, they part when they don't agree on deep levels of values. If I don't feel I'm being fairly treated, if I'm someone who holds up integrity as a big value, and I don't feel that this business or this company is displaying integrity, if I'm a very collaborative person and people here are working in silos, all those things can, or if the work hours or the working conditions don't suit my values, what I want, then of course you're going to walk away. So yeah, so profiling is very key to hiring. It's one of the things that shouldn't be taken for granted. Sometimes I don't really expect SMEs to be able to do it, and that's why if they can't, they can always seek the help of a recruitment consultant, who can help them with profiling. Because when you have that conversation, sometimes you realize your frustrations. Maybe you've been looking for people who can't do the work, and because maybe you want to pay what you feel you can afford, even with a low budget, you can profile. And then sometimes it's counterintuitive, like what can you really get out of paying someone? I mean, if you're in Nigeria, what can you really get out of paying someone 50,000, 100,000? I mean, come on, we need to be realistic, right? But being clear, and I'm not saying that if you pay zillions, you're now also going to get value. No, but you need to know the kind of person you even need so that you are well positioned to even attract or even search for the right candidates. Yeah, so that's, I would say, part one before we go into anything else. Yeah.
That's really, really insightful. It's a number of
Mm.
things put into just a few minutes of you speaking, and I've learned so much already. One of the things that came out as an highlight definitely is how seeing that hiring is like a partnership or a marriage. And that led me to see that the way people perceive your organization really matters a
It
whole
does.
lot.
It
So
does.
it's not just about I want to get people into it.
Yeah,
How does what's the projection of your organization to other
exactly.
people? It's more like
Exactly.
personal branding. You want to
Yeah,
look out
that's
for
it.
someone, you
Yeah.
have to look the part and
Yeah.
play the
Yeah.
part. So that's a
That's the
part.
second
And then
part. Yeah.
another thing you mentioned, which is also very key that I noted, is technical skills and then the behavioral skills. There has to
Yes.
be a balance in the two.
Yes.
Now, I have a question now. Oh, before I proceed, if you have questions, kindly leave them in the chat room. We'll pick your questions randomly. And of course, our special guest here would be able to answer them. So that's that. Now, I have a question. In trying to
Mm.
strike a balance between the technical skills and the behavioral skills, let's assume that I do not have the required resources in terms of finances or funds to go for the person that has that met all the requirements, and then I'm left with picking either this or that. And then I have
Yeah.
someone who is technically sound and met all the technical requirements, knows about the business, knows how to go around it to make profit and all. And then I noticed one of few things as we discussed about the person's behavioral skills. Maybe the person is not so collaborative. Maybe the person seeks out his own gain rather than the gain of others, or those other things. And then I have someone who, in terms of behavioral skills, is top notch. A collaborator, one who is submissive to instructions that have been given, knows how to, bring the person herself, he or herself low to hear and then carry out the task, not going for self-gain and all, but not necessarily having the required technical skills that my organization needs. How am I able to strike the balance? Who do I go for in such a situation? And please advise so that we can all learn.
All right. Thank you very much for that question. You know, things in life are always situational, right? So if somebody says, because if I give you what maybe appears to be a moralistic answer, it's not going to solve the problem because everybody's business context is different. As sometimes people as a leader or as a manager, you make a judgment call. And because if I tell you, oh, go for the person who behaves well, or it just depends on your situation. You know, a short-term decision, there are short-term decisions, there are long-term decisions. Some decisions will pay you off in the short term, but they won't pay you off in the long term, right? So, for example, if somebody hasn't got the technical skills, there's a trade-off. It means that they're not going to be able to deliver. Are you able to make that sacrifice in the short term, knowing that they could be developed in the longer term or the medium term, right? Because it does, I mean, it's an investment. I mean, you're not going to see returns if when you're working with people who don't have the skill, you're going to invest first, right? So do you have that luxury of time? Are you okay with building? Can you make that sacrifice? And some people can, and that would be a good option. And some people can go with the other person for the short term as well. So if I said to you, oh, take this person, it just depends on my situation. If do I have time? Like if I have time, yes, I'll take the person I will nurture. If I don't have time because of a particular project, I could rough it with the person who has a bad attitude because I know that we're going to be done in 3 months. I would either way, you have to make a judgment call, right, on what you can tolerate. If I'm going to do it long term, then I'm going to go with the person because I'm not in a hurry. It's not a crisis. I don't need to do this now. But if I needed the skill now today, and those were my only two options, I will fail if I go with someone without the skill. That's the truth. So every situation has to be appraised in its own rights. And there are short-term decisions and there are long-term decisions. And but it is situational. And these are the dilemmas that businesses face. If you have time, you develop people, you invest in them. If you don't have time, you work with other people and you don't have to hire them. That's another thing, since we're talking about hiring talent. These days, a lot of people don't even want to be hired full time. Some of the people you want, they don't want a full-time work. So you can hire them, you can borrow them. You don't have to buy all your talents. You can borrow. So you can borrow someone for 3 months, 2 months, and let them work on that project. And after the project, that's it, so that you're not feeling the cost of the person. The issue we have with a lot of SMEs is sometimes they don't want to be flexible. They want to buy, they want to own, right? They want to own the hire, right? But you can't, there's some talents you can't afford, right? You can just borrow them, use them for short periods, or go into some kind of partnership with them, which is, where you can get them when you need them. And the people that you're going to nurture who don't have the skill, then you can stay with those for longer. But don't think you're stuck, because you have options. There's always options, but you just need to say, you know what, I can afford this for a short period. Let me go with let me borrow this person for 2 months. I hire people for 1 month. I hire people for one day. I mean, I'm a consultant. There's some people I just work with for a day because I have a client a session in which they're an expert. I don't have to buy them and there's some people I would work with for a month because I would hire their expertise for a month. They don't have to be on payroll. And there's some people you live on a continuous basis because you need the administrative support, right? But some talents, you just borrow them and you work effectively, just borrowing them when you need them. So we need to be flexible about hiring because the talent, the skills market, I don't call it the job market, the skills market is different. And sometimes you don't want to struggle with not being able to get the kind of people you want. Know that you can rent them, right? I mean, of course, I know the word rent is typically used for housing or something, but you can contract them for a short period. Everything is not long-term marriage, eh? Something is, sometimes you collaborate and you get a good you are able to deliver using that approach as well. So let's open our minds to not buying all the talents and paying for them to keep them for all year round. You can mix up you can mix up your talent base, your staffing. Everyone doesn't have to be staff. Some people you can work very well with associates, but it just depends on the kind of business you do. Of course, you have to analyze your business. Not all businesses can benefit from that structure, but some definitely can. Let's open our minds to that.
That's really insightful. Thank you very much, Pa, for that. So, as MSMEs, we should learn to be flexible. Don't just be rigid to employ
Yeah,
everybody all year round.
yeah,
To
yeah,
be flexible. This person is on this payroll. This person is associate and all.
yeah.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
that. So the floor is actually open for questions. So please kindly leave your questions in the chat room. So I'll take one of my final questions and then we'll leave the floor
Yes.
open for our special guests. All right. So, what role can training and development programs play in bridging employee skill gaps, especially in industries with high talent shortage?
Yes, I mean, and it's interesting you asked that because, from my perspective, I don't think you have a choice in developing countries, especially a country like Nigeria. One of the benefits of this economy is actually the number of people, I would say the human resources. We have a lot of people, um, and um, and we don't necessarily have the skills to match. So a big part of the talent strategy for anyone would be training those people, especially when you're not able to afford the skilled and talented people that you may need for your business. A good thing is to have some form of pipeline in which you would train. And that's why you see I would say that there's a rebirth of the apprenticeship. I'm not talking about the apprenticeship for trade. I'm talking about even the apprenticeships. I know like countries like the UK are taking apprenticeships very seriously. And it's not just for trade work. They're doing it in all forms of work. They're doing it in service industry. I mean, people used to think it was restricted to what we call handwork, like technical and vocational skills, but it's not. People can be apprentices for consultancy. They can join, like through even I mean and this is even what is being proposed is outside of the university structure, right? Instead of going to university, and this is what is actually being like this is an option now for 16 to 18-year-olds to actually just join firms as even consultants, like so these what we call internships, right? But in a more structured way as an apprentice. So it's not restricted to technical anymore, right? So different forms of training. So those are options to close that gap and put them through a training period in which they're working as well and they're earning, right? So that could be a very good like way to bridge the gap for talent, but it would have to be a structured approach in which you constantly have a pipeline of people who are coming into the organization through this same program. I must say though that the downside is, which is something you have to mitigate, is that there is no guarantee that the people will stay. Because of course, and that's why usually the pool will be wider and a few people will stay in the end, right? But the important thing is being able to develop some form of pipeline for talent so that it doesn't run dry, right? Yeah. So talent training and development does play a key role, especially where there's skill shortage and there's lots of youth or young people who have the aptitude to learn. So instead of, you put them through a rigorous training program, and I've seen this work in firms. I've seen a firm, I remember a particular firm that used something similar, and they hired greenhorns and maybe let's say they hired like 100 people, and their plan was to take like 10, and they put them through like a 6 months program. It was interesting. And the idea was after 6 months, they would choose. And you know what? After 6 months, everybody was so good. They were struggling like to let people go. They were struggling to get the 10. And you know why that story is remarkable? It doesn't matter how people start. People with an aptitude to learn, if you see them in 6 months' time, you'll be shocked. So that's the good thing about aptitude. And so if you have time, even if you don't have time, you have to plan for the future. So put it in your pipeline. It should be part of your robust talent strategy. So you're not just focusing on the people you have, you're thinking, in 6 months' time, these people are, yes, they might not be, I will not be able to utilize them fully, but they're coming through a pipeline, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And yeah, so it's a strategy that happens side by side. You can't just hire, especially when you need a lot, especially where there's a skill shortage. Start training those people. And that's why quite a number of firms have academies and things like that. Yes, somebody might say for a small organization, you cannot afford to, but you can. Everybody can bring in apprenticeships. Everyone can. You don't have to be a big firm. But the only issue with apprenticeship is that you must have a structure to manage them, meaning that because they have to be supervised, right? So, and it will take a lot of resources to manage people who don't have talent. So they would need a manager. They would, because you can't say you're a CEO, I want to try it, or you're a small business owner, then now just go and hire apprentice. You won't do any work. So it needs a structure too. So if you're going to hire inexperienced people to train, then you need somebody who they otherwise all of them are going to be coming to you. And I'm not sure you can handle that if you'd have to set aside time for that, right? So if you're going to do it yourself, then put it in your mindset that this is a big part of my job. I'm going to dedicate 25% to supervising and coach and developing this apprentice of sorts, or these people I'm training. Otherwise, you need somebody else who they will all report to. So just bear that in mind. Yes.
Thank you so, so much, Madam Adora. It's been such a lovely session. I wish we could go on and on and on, but we have another session where we would be talking around an HR platform that could help, SMEs like us to better manage our resources, better manage people, better manage processes. And so we'd have to cut this session short here. But it's such a huge pleasure having you on board, Ma. Thank you so much. Let us have
Thank you. It's always a
that
pleasure.
round of applause. Thank you so much, Ma. All right, so moving on, we'll be having now one of our very dear colleagues from the Cloudinly team on board to kind of take us through the Cloudinly HR platform. Joining in welcoming Olani Ikomola to give us an overview of Cloudinly. Olani, you're welcome. You're on board. Please say hello.
Yeah,
Can
thank
hear
you,
you.
Chinwe. Thank you. Thank you for having me, as well as my other colleagues here. And Adora,
Oh,
thank you so much. That was a wonderful section.
please put on your
Can you all
camera.
hear me?
Yes, we can. Please put on your camera. Hello, Ni. Kindly put on your camera.
Yes. It's up now. Could you please confirm?
Okay. Well, we can't see you yet, but I'm sure it's coming up. Okay, perfect. We can see you now, and we can also see your screen. So please blow us away with
All right.
this innovative solution.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much once again. And Adora, that was a wonderful section. Thank you so much. So it kept on ringing in my ears. Partnership, hiring is like partnership and it's like a marriage. Wonderful, wonderful. So Cloudinly will be helping you as SMEs to manage your employees and retain talent. So within the Cloudinly application, we have organization designs. Organization designs helps you to build and manage your org structure in real time. So we also have location management. This helps your workflow locations efficiently. You are able to manage your workflow locations efficiently. While we also have employee management. You can onboard and manage your employees with ease with Cloudinly. Then we have compensation planning. This allows you to plan and implement the compensation framework that best supports your organization. We have performance management. Performance helps you to set and manage targets for employees and the organization as a whole. While the leave management feature allows you to manage employees' time off efficiently and in real time. Then overtime gives you the flexibility to manage employees' overtime work pay, planned work, and overtime pay requests. Then we have advance and loans within the Cloudinly application as well. This equally helps you to disburse and manage employee salary advances and loans. Then we have employee self-service, ESS. ESS gives you the opportunity to allow your employees have the power to perform certain HR on their own, anywhere, anytime within the Cloudinly application. So the Cloudinly application is broken into two sections. As we go into the app proper, we'll see this in practical. Then we have analytics. Analytics helps you to get critical insight to make business decisions. Then we have identity and access management. This helps you to protect your organization from unauthorized access and activities. Then finally, we have approval management. Approval management helps you to automate approval flow, minimize risk, and improve efficiency. Then we have payroll. Payroll allows you to schedule the period you'll be paying your employee, automate it, and at every point in time, you'll be able to run it. So it also gives you the flexibility to pay employees monthly, twice monthly, and 4 times monthly. Then payroll administration also gives you the flexibility and um, opportunity to effortlessly run payroll quickly and accurately. Then we have payroll compliance. This allows you to stay compliant consistently. Then remittances, you can remit your regulatory remittances such as pension, NHF, and payee online. So you can access everything within the Cloudinly application. So in partnership with MTN, you'll be able to do all of this. So we'll go in straight up to look at the app in practical. So I'll be walking us through the app, showing us some of the things I've just highlighted now as overview and showing us the possibilities of Cloudinly. So I'm logging in now as a typical user. So upon login, you'll be landed to the ESS section. The ESS part is where employees can easily interact with the HR admin. But for the sake of this demonstration, we'll be moving to the admin section. So I will be switching to the admin console. Okay, you're welcome. So within the admin console, we have the dashboard, the sidebar, all that I've just listed can be accessed on the sidebar. Then let's go to the settings. The settings is the part where you have to configure to ensure that the system works for you the way you want it. So there are certain settings that you need to do from here. And the beautiful thing about Cloudinly is the fact that Cloudinly is intuitive, is straightforward, is easy to use, and is user-friendly. So the very first thing you get to see here, it's your profile. You see the profile of the root admin. You can see the organization details here as well. Then you have security here. Security allows you to update your password. Then you have roles and privileges. Roles and privileges allows you to create new role, configure privileges, give certain privileges to other admins within your organization, within your company. You'll be able to give them such privileges such that they do not have access to everything within the application. But as the owner or the root admin, you'll be able to access everything. So you'll be able to set up your roles and privileges here. Then we have the admin part. Admin allows you to create new admins and give them the privileges created. So any admin that's created here and is given privileges will be able to log in and access the admin section. However, it will just be to the extent of the privileges configured here in roles and privileges. Then next is bank account. Bank account allows you to configure the specific account that will be used to pay employees directly from Cloudinly. So once you come here, you'll be able to generate a 10-digit new bank account, and you'll be able to pay employees directly from here. So the next is pay setting. Earlier, we'll be saying you'll be able to do pay schedule. Your pay schedule gives you the flexibility to set up monthly, twice monthly, and 4 times monthly pay frequencies. And this implies that you'll be able to pay employees with these pay frequencies, as the case may be. So it's possible that within an organization, you have employees that are being paid on a monthly basis, some being paid on twice monthly, while some being paid on 4 times monthly basis. You'll be able to run and manage all of this within the Cloudinly application. Then we have earnings. Earnings allows you to configure the gross pay component for your organization, and you'll be able to adjust real time as the case may be. And you will be able to also add statutory allowances and non-statutory allowances. You'll be able to add regular pay and irregular pay or variable pay. You'll be able to do all of that within the Cloudinly application. Then we have deduction. It's also the same. You'll be able to configure deductions that will be taken at source. If, for example, if employees have requested for loans or advances, their loans and advances will be deducted at source with this deduction feature. Then you have compliance. You'll be able to set up your compliance, identify the PFAs that your employees you'll be able to identify all the PFAs and configure or add the PFAs that your employees are using all from here. And you equally be able to configure the pay component for your pension contribution. Same with payee, you'll be able to enable payee across board. And of course, even after it's enabled across board, you still have the flexibility to adjust it per employee as the case may be. Then you have NHF here. You can also use that easily. Then we have compensation planning. This allows you to set up compensation that is due for every employee, and it allows you to remunerate employee competitively. Are you competitive? Is your organization paying competitively with the global standard, or you have a specific standard that you are referencing within your organization? You'll be able to do all of that here and set certain preferences. You'll be able to review. You'll be able to set up your pay grades as the case may be. Then we have employee management. Within employee management here, you can set up your probation and confirmation period. So once this is set up, if employees are on probation, the system can treat them going forward and determine when they will be confirmed based on the settings here. Once you configure the settings, the system is smart enough to inherit the settings going forward. Then we have ESS actions. As I mentioned earlier, at the time I logged in, I was routed to the ESS portal. So within the ESS portal, there are certain actions the admin can control. So these are the actions the admin can control. So you can determine what employees can do from here. Then we have approval workflow. Approval workflow allows you to automate actions, events that are critical within the application, such that those events or actions do not get committed directly. They have to go through checks and balances before they get committed. Then we have performance. Performance gives you the flexibility to manage your employees, set targets, and ensure these targets are appraised. So you can do that. Yeah, you can configure these settings. We have performance cycle, templates, ratings and rankings, appraisal and moderation, and general settings. Then you have appearance. Appearance allows you to configure how you want your email templates to look like. Once emails are triggered within Cloudinly, how should these emails look like? How should they look like? What will be the logo? What will be the banner? Cloudinly gives you the flexibility to do all of that. That's that for settings. Then I'm going down to the sidebar. So within the sidebar, the very first thing is the dashboard. The dashboard gives you basic analytics to track progress and activities within your organization. Then here we have organization. Within organization, you have organization structure, where you are able to create your functional unit and view your org hierarchy. Then you have job levels. You can configure job levels here. Then designation, you can set up all designations within your organization and determine their payment, their payroll, their allowances, and equally determine who they report to. You can do all of that within designation. And people gives you the directory of all employees within your organization. Are they all employed? Are they consultants? You can do all of that here. Cloudinly gives you that flexibility to be able to manage employees and non-employees. And these non-employees could be guests or consultants who are not necessarily on payroll. So next is location. So if you have multiple locations, Cloudinly equally allows you to create those multiple locations and manage their HR core activities within the same account. Then you can configure your tax remittances here. Where are you remitting your tax to? You can configure that here. Then we have the employee module. Within the employee module, the first thing is the overview. The employee module equally gives you an overview of your employees within your organization. You can get basic statistics, basic analytics of event actions within your organization. So then we have employee directory. Within employee directory, you can easily onboard all your employees. We have the flexibility to import employees and you can onboard them manually from here. You can create new and you can onboard from existing users or people. So these are all employees in this organization. So for a typical employee, you'll be able to update employees' biodata, enter address, next of kin information. You'll be able to enter employment details. Yeah, you'll be able to enter the employee pay information. You'll be able to do all of that here. Determine if the employee is entitled to other benefits. You can equally access the employee work hours and account information. You'll be able to do all of that here. And if the employee is given admin role, you as an admin or the owner, you'll be able to access the role given to that employee directly from here. Then we have confirmation. Confirmation based on the settings configured in probation and confirmation. Cloudinly allows you to manage your employees on probation from here. So it tells you when employees will be confirmed. And once it's time, you are triggered, you receive a notification to do that. And you can come here and do the confirmation or extend the confirmation as the case may be. Then we have promotions. Promotions allows you to manage employees to be promoted. You'll be able to do all of that here. Then redeployment, you have multiple locations, you want to move employees from one location to the other. This, it's possible directly from this redeployment sub-module. Then you have delegation management. Do you want to move one staff to another department, either to support a particular department or a particular employee, or to just go through some training with a particular employee? For example, for succession planning, you can do all of that within this place. Then we have compensation. Compensation allows you to be sure that you are paying employees competitively, and you can benchmark your payments with the compensation module. You have overview here, it gives you basic analytics of events around your compensation, and you can see your pay benchmarking, compare ratio. You can access all of them here. Then Pay Insight equally gives you insight into your compensation planning. So you'll be able to do all of that here. You can see how you're paying employees across function, across job grades, across locations. You'll be able to do that. And Review helps you set up when you'll be reviewing your employees' compensation. That's, you'll be able to do that here. Then Payroll. Within Payroll, you have the overview. In the overview, you get basic analytics of all the payroll you've run till date. You can access that here. Then Eligible employees gives you insight into employees that are active on payroll and employees that are not active on payroll. And as the admin, directly from here, you'll be able to access all employees' pay slip. Even the HR manager will be able to access that from here. So you'll be able to view employees' pay slip, download employee pay slip, or print employee pay slip. All of that will be possible within Cloudinly at a sweep. Then variable earnings allows you to manage earnings that are not regular earnings, earnings that are not earned on a monthly basis. And once you come here, you will access all your variable earnings. And from here, you can add it to payroll directly. So once it's added to payroll, the employees due for this variable earning will receive this variable earning once it's being processed in payroll. So next is Payron. Within Payron, we have the draft register, we have the under review register, the approved register, disapproved register, and paid registers. These registers allows for checks and balances. I'll run through in a moment. So first, the draft register is where you're able to run a new payroll. So you want to pay a typical employee, say for example, for the month of June, I want to pay. So what I will do is to come here, each regular pay run. This gets opened for me. Then I see pay run cycle. I select the month. I select this salary type. Then I select the pay frequency. As we mentioned earlier, we have 4 times monthly, twice monthly, and monthly. So I can do any of them based on the employees I want to pay. So say monthly, I'll select monthly, then click on apply. So once I do this, the system would fetch all employees that are due for payment for the month of June. The system will fetch them here. Then I can add additions, I can add deductions as the case may be. Then their payee and pension contributions are automatically calculated. Then, okay, so for the sake of this demo, NHF was not enabled for this organization. That is why it's reading 0. So then you get the net pay. So once you select all as an admin or whoever is saddled with that responsibility to perform this action, you can proceed to hit submit pay run. Once you do this, automatically this gets submitted. It gets submitted for processing. Now, if approval workflow has been set up for the organization, if you submit it, it comes to under review, and everyone who is expected to approve it would have to approve before it goes to the final phase. But for the sake of this demo, approval flow was not set up, so it gets automatically approved. So it will be sitting here in the approved register. So from the approved register, you'll be able to open it, view it, review it, and you can proceed to make payments. So from here, you'll be able to make payments directly. So if you click on pay, so the moment I hit save, this amount will be credited. All employees here will be credited with their associated net pay value. And this money will be deducted from the virtual Nubank account that I showed us earlier in settings. And if I do not want to do that, if I don't want to pay online directly from Cloudinly, I can pay offline and still keep my account record or my record intact on Cloudinly. Then once I do that payment,
just to bring your attention that we have a few minutes.
right.
I'm particularly enjoying the session, especially the part that has that 3.8 million. Can it be transferred to my account?
Not
Okay,
yet.
please.
Not yet.
Just a round of thank you.
All right, thank you. So once that is done, once you make payments, it will be sitting here in the paid register and you'll be able to access that from here. Then once you do that, the pension, PAYE, and NHF values will be extracted and you'll be able to access them from here. Then we have leave management. This is where you can typically manage employees' leave requests. As an admin, you can see them. Then advance and loans, you can access employees' advance and loans here. Overtime, same, you can access their overtime planned work and overtime pay. Then performance, yes, from here you can access organization goals, performance agreement, performance appraiser, and from here you can also access approval workflows. All the requests that are supposed to go through approvals, you will see them here. And whoever is saddled with the responsibility to approve them can also access and approve them directly from here. Then finally, you have analytics, you have organization analytics, employee analytics, and payroll analytics. I think I'll be stopping here for the sake of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nee, for that insightful session on Cloudinity's payroll and HR platform. You must take this time out to let you know that we have special offers running on this platform. So please be on your notepads and your keypads so that you can take down the offers and be sure to make and take advantage of them. If you have questions for Nee, can leave them in the chat session and he will be available to take them. You can also send him an email, which I'll be dropping his email address in the chat box session shortly. So on our Cloudinly platforms, we have a 1 month subscription. If you are going to be going for the 1 month subscription, you have an extra 1 month for free. And also, if you go for the entire year, you would have an extra 3 months for free for the HR and payroll solution called Cloudinly. You can also subscribe on our payment platform eShop or send us an email to letstalk.ng@ntn.com. We'll be leaving all this information on you. My colleague Adirisola will be helping out with that to leave the necessary information on this chat room so you can take advantage of it. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's the end of our MSME clinic series, and we are so grateful to have you. For those of us that stayed all through the session from the very first day, June 2nd to today, and we are really appreciative. Please be informed that the recording will be available on our YouTube channel. The previous sessions have already been uploaded, so you could go there to listen. And of course, this will be uploaded as well within a few days from now. Thank you so much once again, everyone. We are really grateful and have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.